In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about building up yourself in the business side of boxing. Welcome to the DO Boxing Show. I'm your host, Dameon Okposio. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. In this episode, I'm going to be explaining in some details some things that people have talked to me about privately, and I want to bring it out to you in the show. I find that a lot of times, a lot of people don't send me messages to the show, maybe because they don't want their messages to be seen publicly, but people are constantly asking me about the topics I'm going to be talking about today, and I want to give it to everybody in detail. Instead of just telling a few people, I want to bring it to the entire audience. And before in episodes before, I mentioned that boxing is not business, but there is business in boxing, and it's important to know everything has a business component to it. Whether you're talking about school, church, anything that you do has a business component to it, and that includes media as well. If there isn't a business component to it, it's not going to last, because everything needs money or assistance in order for it to continue to grow or even just to exist. So these are a couple of key things that I saw that, where boxing in Toronto and in Canada in general kind of stalls out in. And I wanted to kind of address these few points and hopefully, add to the success of a few people that are out there that are trying to make something happen with boxing. First thing is you got to know, you got to ask for what you want. So, a lot of people, they want more media coverage. They want, to make money. They want assistance to go someplace. And, if you don't ask for things, you're not going to get it. There's a saying that goes, a squeaky wheel gets the oil. And I found that saying to be true. Because if you don't make any noise, people don't know who you are, your message doesn't necessarily get out there, or whatever you want to convey doesn't necessarily get out there. So you have to ask for what you want, but there's another component to that. And that is that you have to know how to ask for what you want. And that takes a little bit of research, because you can ask for what you want, but if you're asking in the wrong way, or if you're asking in a way that offends people, you're likely not going to be as successful as if you know how to properly ask for what you want. So I'm going to give you an example. If you need somebody to do something for you, the best way is always to find out if there's a way that both of you can benefit from it. If you can find the value for the other person, or multiple ways where they can get value, the likelihood is that they will assist you with it. So as an example, as my show has grown in popularity, some people have asked me to come out and do video for them. Well, what would be the benefit for me to drive out to someone and go and video them? I can make anywhere from $100 to $700 a day working. And sometimes I'm booked up for weeks and weeks straight. So if I was to take a day off and to go and film that person, I'm giving up that money. Why would I do that? Why would I use my gas money to go and do that? Filming this boxing show, I don't monetize this show. So if you see commercials either at the beginning or at the end, that might be from the music that I'm drawing on, them monetizing that particular episode, or YouTube just monetizing the show. But you don't see numerous breaks in my format for advertising, because I don't monetize my videos. This is a side hustle for me. I don't make any money from doing these videos. I'm giving information for free to the boxing community, and I'm hoping that they utilize it as a tool. I'm giving my best information. I'm giving information that I'm giving to people from my experience, so that I know that it works. It's not the only way that you can do it, but I give from, I always talk from an area where I have some knowledge and expertise or experience, as opposed to just telling you something that I think in theory. So when it comes to asking, if you're finding value, if you can find value or you can see value for the other person that you're asking, then it benefits the both of you. So, if someone is providing, if I'm doing a video on somebody that has a product that they want to get out there, and they're giving me some of that product to try for myself, or giving me some of that product to give away, then that's great, because it's giving me something that I can give to my audience to create more value for the people that are viewing my show, and it helps them get their product out as well. So there's a way to ask, and also too, sometimes people ask, but they ask without asking. So they'll say, you know what, if you need, more viewership, or if you need content, for me personally, I don't care if 2 people are watching the show. That's what I started out. I started out with 6 people watching the show, and I would make my content in the same way for those 6 people as I would for 6,000 viewers or 6 million viewers. To me, it's like I put the content out there. If people want to utilize it, great. If they don't want to utilize it, that's okay too. That's the way that I do things. You got to find out what is of value to that person, and that also comes from asking, hey, what would be good for you? What timing would be good for you? And just try and figure out how you can give that person value. Asking is very important. Number one, the ask is so important, because people are not just going to come and stick out their necks and give up their time and money and effort. Number one, if they don't know that you want something. Number two, I've done things for people in the past. When I did my boxing magazine in the past, I used to try and cover all of boxing. You get negative feedback sometimes from people that say didn't want you to do stories on them, or they didn't want a certain type of exposure. And, so I learned from that, hey, you know what? Don't give exposure to people that are not asking for it. Give it to people that want it, or give it to people within your circle, because if you give it to people that don't want it, then you're wasting your time and you're wasting your effort. So that's another reason now where I don't just go out and necessarily give exposure or do something on just anybody. I focus on promoting myself, and I show through utilizing a lot of the principles that I talk about and doing them myself, exercising it myself in terms of self-promotion and stuff like that, that I can bring my point across. And then if somebody wants that assistance, I can give it to them. Or if they want to pay for it, I can help them out in charging for it. Number one, I don't really care if, they appreciate it or not, if they pay for it. And number two, there's, number one, that person actually wanted that information when they're paying for it. So it's not, asking is one of the most important things, asking for what you want. But then secondly, knowing how to ask, knowing how to ask. A lot of times people will go to their family for finances, and that's great. If your family has unlimited financial resources, then you're one of the fortunate people. But if they don't, sometimes going to that well over and over again, it may run dry. And number two, if you don't have that family that you can go to, like for me, I didn't have family that I could go to for finances when I was growing up. So, I had to be the person. I had to rely on myself basically and create other avenues, and go and ask in the generally to the general public for assistance, either by going to companies and selling myself, or by trying to find win-win situations that would entice people to want to assist me. The next topic is having the proper team. So I've talked before about having a good team when it comes to boxing, and that is, getting the best coach that you can, getting the best manager that you can, an advisor. I've mentioned in previous videos, if your coach doesn't like doing hand pads and you want to do hand pads, you feel that develops you, get somebody that does hand pads. Now, when I'm saying all those things, and when I'm saying the best coach, I want to clarify that. The best coach for you. Just because somebody is a great fighter doesn't mean they're going to be a great coach. Just because somebody has experience coaching a lot of people doesn't mean they're going to be the right coach for you. The right coach for you is going to be the person that you listen to, that you feel confident in, that you think is going to look out for your best interests. So, it doesn't matter what experience that person is. Joe Calzaghe's father, Enzo Calzaghe, proved that with no traditional fight experience. He raised and trained his son to become an undefeated fighter and one of the best fighters ever out there with a stellar resume. You don't have to have experience. The person just has to have a knowledge and a want for growing in knowledge in the fight game and have your best interest at heart. And that's the best trainer for you. A lot of times everybody tries to do everything all in one. And I think at the beginning, sometimes you have to do that because you don't know who other managers are. You don't know the role of an advisor, but it's on you to get that education to find out who is out there, interview people, talk to them, talk to people who know them, and then figure out what is the best thing for you. Because ultimately you want people that are going to be good in those particular areas and focusing specifically on those areas in terms of management and a coach. You want people that can go out and look out and scout out fights for you, because that's how you're going to stay active as a fighter. You need people that are going to be able to focus on your training, maybe develop strategies for you when you're going into fights. You need different people to assist you. Those people, of course, have to get along. But sometimes a lot of guys look at, what, if my team is too big, then I'm not going to be making anything because I'm going to give percentages away to everybody. You have to decide how you're going to bring those people on. It might be your girlfriend that is helping you manage. It might be, I don't know what you're going to decide to do, but you just need people that you can trust around you that have specific jobs and that they're working on those specific jobs. When somebody focuses on something very specific, they're going to be likely more successful. And also, too, it's good to have a couple of different perspectives on things as well, which can help you as a team. So you need to choose the right people, the people that have your interests in mind, and people that are going to work together. The more people that you have that can be honest with you, the better it's going to be for you to have a career in boxing and not get hurt, to have a lengthy career in boxing and not get hurt. So having a proper team is important, and that goes down to knowing who, the right doctor is going to be for you, or maybe physiotherapy. And these are people that don't have to necessarily be on your team full time. You may have a dedicated coach, but, coming up to an important fight, you may want to rely on the expertise of, somebody that has fought or been at a world champion stage before, and you bring them in for a fight camp, or you bring them in for, 4 weeks, and you compensate them with whatever you guys agree to. That is being strategic, and it's being smart, and it's making a wise use of your resources, because you may not be able to bring them on the team full time, or they may just want to be part of your experience and be willing to give you that information, that advice, that coaching for free in order to be a part of your camp or a part of your entourage. I don't know. But the best thing is, again, going back to the first thing, knowing to ask. Number 2, knowing how to ask, and then figuring it out and getting it, on paper or sorted out before you move forward, so that everybody knows what role they're playing. Third thing, plan your next step. So I've talked about goal setting in the past. It's really important. I think a lot of times where a lot of fighters in Toronto, Ontario, or Canada stagnate and they fight once a year or twice a year is because they don't have plans. A lot of times I hear people say, I'm just going to take things as it goes. And I think that's fine, but I think you should have a plan in place before you do that. Think about how many times a year you do want to fight. Think about how much money you do want to make, and make a goal for that. And then make a long-term plan, and then have shorter goals that are going to help you reach your long-term plan. Once you have all those goals set out, you want to fight 6 times a year, and you're going to be fighting in Ontario, you're going to fight in Quebec, or you're going to fight in Michigan, or you have a criminal record, you're going to go to the police station, or you're going to go online and you're going to figure out what it takes to get a pardon, and you're going to get your pardon in 8 months, and then after 8 months, you're going to fight every month in Michigan or upstate New York. Have a plan. And then after you have your plan, take it as it comes. But you have to have the plan there first, or else you're going to find yourself one fight a year or fighting, and then 2 years goes by, and then you don't have a fight, and then you got to pick up a job, and then picking up a job is important because I think that all fighters should work while they're training. But if your career is moving along, there's different types of jobs that you can get. Like if you're fighting on a regular basis, or you sign with a promoter, you can work as a security guard, or someplace where you don't need to have a lot of mental energy invested. You're not going to have a lot of paperwork outside of your work, and you're able to take time off because somebody can replace you very easily. So those kind of jobs would be great, as opposed to, if you don't have somebody backing you up, or you're the whole kit and caboodle, then you may want to actually go for something that's a career where you're going to have some benefits and, a little bit better money, and then you make the sacrifices to have that job so you can really take care of yourself plus fighting. So, all those things you have to look at. You need to plan out what you're going to do, and then you can take it fight by fight and, step by step, and what comes. But you need to have a plan. You're not going to get on board of a plane without having a destination that you're going to go to, and think that you're going to, get to the things that you want to get to. You have to have a plan to get there. The last thing I'm going to talk about on this episode is going to be praising your team. It's really important. So UFC 220, I watched the press conference for the post-fight press conference, and it was really good. Daniel Cormier won his fight, and he was praising his team, praising his workout partners, the people that were there for him. He was saying when he had his pre-fight dinner, there was like 45 people there, and that was friends, family, and they helped him out. They come out and support all the time. You need to appreciate the people that do things for you, even if it's something small, because the number one reason is they don't have to. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody's obligated to do anything for you, and that includes your parents. So, if people are coming out and they're supporting, or they're buying tickets, or they're motivating you, or, they're getting you equipment, or they're introducing you to the right people, it's important to acknowledge them. Because if you don't acknowledge them, you don't know if they're going to be sticking around. Now, things happen to people. They fall off because everybody's got their own lives, but it's really important to let people know what you're thinking about them. Communication is one of the most important things, and especially when you have a coach and you have a team and you have training partners, you need to let them know, because the money that they're making, especially when you're starting out as a fighter, the money that they're making from you is not going to be enough for them to live on. So, you better believe that they're doing other things, like working with other fighters or whatnot, to keep themselves busy and be able to feed their own families and take care of themselves. So the time that they're spending on you, the time that they're using to train you, is precious time, and you shouldn't take that for granted, and you shouldn't take advantage of it. If you have a coach and it's your head coach, praise them as your head coach. If there's assistant coaches, praise them as assistant coaches. If you have a training partner, praise them as a training partner. If they helped you do something specific, talk about that specific thing. Let people know that you're conscious of the fact that people are sacrificing to help you get to where you need to get to. That's a very important thing, especially if you want people to stick around. Because it's not just those people that are hearing you praise them, it's other people that could potentially help you get to where you want to get to, and they're looking at your character. They're looking at, how you are as a person. The people that are watching just as fans are judging you on your character, and they're looking at how you conduct yourself and carry yourself. And all those things are important. Yes, to a certain degree, you don't want to care what people think. You just want to go and do what you have to do, because too much praise can make your head swell. and too much criticism can throw you off your game. But I'm just talking about your team. When you have your team, you need to over communicate with them. You need to let them know when they're doing great things, when they're assisting you, because everybody talks about what goes wrong, but few people talk about what goes right. And if you're somebody that is constantly praising the people that you work with, you talk about the right things that happen, people are going to want to naturally be around you. People are naturally going to want to support you, and that will help you in your career and help you progress to the goals that you want to get to. So hopefully this episode was informative and educational for you. That was my intention. I want to thank you so much for bearing with me through this long video. Remember, if you have any questions related to boxing, send us a message through Twitter at DOKPOSIO, through email at posio@hotmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe to get every episode of the DO Boxing Show. Thanks for tuning into this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry. Just laying down some dope tracks and didn't see you there. But since you already interrupted my sick flow, I thought I should tell you that the 2018 Ontario Boxing Hall of Fame induction is taking place on Saturday, May 5th, 2018, in the amazing city of Woodstock, Ontario. A nice change from Gotham City. The price is only $50 a ticket, so you don't have to be a billionaire to come out. Contact Dameon for tickets right away, because they are going faster than medication at Arkham. Wait. Batman back in. Forgot to drop the mic.